Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. JLR Investigates. Come on in, come on in. A lot to talk about. Trump shooting, Butler, Pennsylvania. The parents of the shooter have been spotted. We're going to talk a little bit about the parents and some new information that is out there. We are trying to continue to cover this case, peel the onion, no stone left unturned. I can share that the new information that is out there, the mom is blind. The mom, his mom, Thomas Matthew Crooks' mom, Mary Crooks, is legally blind. Which brings us a very, very interesting thing. She is literally legally blind. That's what's being reported. The father and mother, apparently they had 14 guns in the house. So there's a lot to talk about. Come on in. There's a lot to discuss also with this case because the FBI director, Christopher Wray, spoke yesterday and he revealed some controversial information about the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, whether he was really shot or not, whether it was a bullet or some sort of debris, shrapnel, something that, came off maybe a teleprompter or some other, somewhere else that actually did the wound on him. So there's a lot of controversy over that. And there's a lot of backlash and outrage that he said that. The Trump campaign insists that he was shot with a bullet. A lot of information, a lot of people talking about the latest in this case. But let's talk with the parents first because the FBI director did reveal some information yesterday about the parents, right? The parents are apparently licensed counselors in the state of Pennsylvania, both the mother and father. And they also have he has a sister too, right? This is his sister. This is his sister, Katie. And not much on her other than there was a report that Thomas Crooks helped her assist her moving recently. And there's talk about her having jobs, multiple jobs, and but not much, But there was a video that was going viral the other day where they were out there shopping. And the sister was like, back off, and telling people to back off. And interesting stuff. But I want to go back to the parents a little bit about the parents because, and I don't say this to be sarcastic or anything like that, but the mother is blind. They're reporting the mother is legally blind. And I don't want to say this sarcastically, but was she blinded about what was going on inside this household? They had 14 guns in the house. Apparently this guy's made a lot of rants. And there was something going on in the house between Crooks and his parents that led up to that day where the parents got very, very concerned for his safety and were making a call that we have not yet got. I actually filed a right-to-know law request in Allegheny County about this call that the parents allegedly made on the morning of the shooting. The morning of the 13th, apparently the gun, the AR-15, the father, he told the father he was going to go shooting at the Clariton gun range on the 13th in the morning. But something in the afternoon, he didn't return or something, so the family actually called authorities. Now, I don't know if it's unclear if it was actually just a call directly to the police department, Bethel Park Police Department. I don't even know if they have a police department. Or the county sheriffs, Allegheny County, or the Allegheny County 911 system. Now, I put in a Pennsylvania right-to-know law request with the Allegheny County, their 911, to try to get that call because, we want to know what was said. We want to know why the family would be so worried about calling him. While he was missing, went up there. As we heard from the former FBI director, apparently he was seen around the grounds a couple hours before the rally, flying a drone between 3:51 and 4 o'clock, somewhere in that range, 3:50, 4 o'clock range, flying a drone around the area, not necessarily over the site. He's viewing the stuff there and then eventually makes his way to the roof. And then there's this ladder controversy because he touched in a little bit about the ladder because apparently Crooks bought a ladder beforehand and then but it's unclear if he used that actual ladder to get up on top of the building because the FBI director, who was questioned by Representative Massey of Kentucky, was asked about the ladder. So we'll get into that a little bit. But going back to these individuals, right, the parents, right? Now, I do think the parents are in some big trouble civilly. I think it's just a matter of time now. what can you sue them for? Home is worth $250,000. It's not like they have a lot of money. Again, the mother is legally blind. His mom is legally blind. That is his mom. This is the first time we see an actual photo of his mom. His mom doesn't have any social media profiles or anything like that. Dad doesn't have any social media profiles, and neither does Katie Crooks, the sister. So it's basically the father, Matthew. His name's Matthew, right? So the shooter's Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's Matthew Crooks. Mary Crooks, Katie Crooks. And this is Katie, again, the sister. Now, they spoke the other day when they were out there. We played this clip. I'll play it again for people that are just jumping on to catch you up to speed of what's going on.
Matthew, why would your son want to kill the president?
Back off! No comment.
No comment!
Were there any warning signs, Matthew? No comment.
How's Mary holding up?
No comment. We'll release a statement when our legal counsel advises us to do so. Until then, we have no comment. We just want to try to take care of ourselves right now. So please, give us our space.
Matthew, why would your son want to kill the president?
Back off! No comment.
No comment!
Were there any warning signs, Matthew?
So one thing interesting that they said was legal counsel. When legal counsel says we're ready, we will release a statement, which makes it very, very interesting because, one, I believe that they were under investigation in reference to the guns and all the weapons inside the house. Now, the FBI director did say that the actual gun used in this shooting was his dad bought it and then his dad sold it to him legally. But I do think there's some civil charges and civil stuff that's most likely going to come out of this. So let's talk. There's some new information out. According to Fox News, this is a new report, just came out. It's saying here, the saying is the following. We're talking about the parents. It's saying Trump shooter Thomas Crooks' family had 14 guns inside their home. Now, I think it's very odd. The father, whether they're registered to the father or the mother, one thing I find interesting is the mother is blind. What if a gun was registered to the mother and she's blind? Is that even legal? Is that even illegal for someone blind to have a gun? I'm just asking. I don't know. I don't know if someone can answer that question. That would be really, very, very, very helpful. I guess you could, right? I guess having a disability doesn't, a physical disability doesn't prohibit anyone from having a gun, right? So, father legally sold gun to son. FBI Director Thomas Crooks' father sold his son the AR-15 used to shoot at the former president. So, father sold him the gun. How does that even work? FBI Director Christopher Wray revealed on Wednesday that Thomas Crooks' family had more than a dozen firearms in their Pennsylvania home, and that the father, Matthew Crooks, legally sold his son the weapon that the 20-year-old used in his assassination attempt of a former President Donald Trump. And at this time, folks, it's safe to say that this was an assassination attempt, if you want to believe Christopher Wray, who said prior to the shooting, the day Crooks registered for the rally, he was looking up JFK and how far Oswald was to JFK. He was looking up on his Google searches. And then that particular day, coincidentally, he registered to attend the Trump rally in Butler. So we located a number of firearms associated with the shooter and his family, Wray told the House Judiciary Committee. I think it was a total of 14 in the House. So people are giving their perspective on the blindness, whether a blind person can legally have a gun. Now, maybe all the guns were registered to his dad. JLR, blindness has different forms, partial, full, etc. We have no idea the exact state of the blindness. Well, in this, now she could be pulling a Bill Cosby, of course. Bill Cosby, he can see, but he was pretending at the time, coincidentally, when he was going on trial in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania years back, he would walk like he was fully blind. I mean, she has but this could be also the sympathy card too, folks. This could be an act. I'm not saying it's not. She could be blind, but is she over-exaggerating for sympathy? Is she over-exaggerating, say, oh, well, the mother's blind, everyone can't criticize her or say something because how dare you say something with a disability? Some people play that disability card. Let's be real. But she could be blind. She could be blind. She could be fully blind. She could be partially blind. She could be half blind. I don't know. And we're not here we're not here shaming the family whatsoever. We're just talking, right? So this is not a public shaming of the parents. We're not saying anything shaming wise. We're just reading facts and we're talking about a case. I want to make that perfectly clear. The weapon that he used for the attempted assassination was an AR-15 style rifle that was legally purchased. We believe, based on what we've seen, that his father, after purchasing the gun, legally sold the gun to his son. This revelation came on the same day that Mary Crooks, the mother of the would-be Trump assassin, was pictured outside for the first time since her son opened fire at the rally in Pennsylvania, right? So this is the first time photo. The gunman's mother, who is blind, was guided by her husband from their blue Toyota Tacoma into their Bethel Park home around 7 p.m. Wednesday night. Matthew Crooks opened her car door for her and held her hand as they entered the house. Does anyone feel sorry for the parents that they were dragged into this? Does anyone think that the parents are totally innocent and their son was just bonkers and insane and did this? Or do you think the family's complicit in any way? I ask that because I really do think at one point there's going to be some civil litigation against them. So people see it's mixed opinions. People are saying innocent. They don't know. They are. They're involved. As far as knowing maybe something. I just want to know, folks. Here's what I want to know. It is very important for me to clear my mind into thinking whether they're involved or not, because we just don't know. We can assume and we can have opinions, but we really don't know. But I think a clue to this whole situation and understanding if the parents really knew or not is that call they made to authorities on the morning to report him missing. Because if they reported him missing and they said some things in the call based off his erratic statements or things that he said, which I really believe there's a possibility before this shooting, he would sit at the table with his family and discuss stuff and discuss things. Maybe politics, his disdain towards Trump, maybe even Biden too. Because I always said that the shooter, I believe, was not pro-Biden, anti-Trump, or pro-Trump, anti-Biden. I believe the shooter was anti every government official you can possibly think of. But I'm sure they had those talks at that table. And as the elections come in, all the division between parties on the side and everything like that, I believe that his parents might have heard him say some things, right? Some things that raised red flags. Something, well, F Trump, I'm going to do this. Or F Biden, I'm going to do this. Or something like that. No, son, you can't do that. Or maybe they're kind of chuckling along. I don't know. But they, in fairness, folks, they did report something was going on. You know, he missing. So something raised a red flag on that. Because you just don't call your child, and he's not even a child, he's an adult, missing the same day within hours of them not coming home. You wouldn't call that quickly on a male adult. Something is not jiving in my mind here. So we'll learn more. We might learn more via depositions or discovery. That might be the only way. The FBI, I don't know if they'll ever reveal that information. But if they did, maybe we'll get that information via, if the victims' families sue. The family of Corey and the other two gentlemen that got injured, if they sue the parents. And I think it's very, very possible the parents get sued for this. And then if you get a lawsuit, then they would open themselves up to discovery, depositions, interrogatories in different forms that maybe, I don't know. The FBI director said the agency is still searching for a manifesto or other clues that could determine the 20-year-old Crooks' motive for the attack that nearly killed Trump, injuring 2 rallygoers and killing a volunteer firefighter, Corey Comperatore, on July 13th. He added that the borough's Division Behavioral Analysis Unit was assembling a profile of the shooting. Brian Etten came up with a good report talking about the psych profile of this individual. We're going to share that too, by the way. The FBI conducted more than 400 interviews in their investigation of the shooting. Typically, the FBI does not discuss ongoing investigations. We know that. They neither confirm or deny whether there's an investigation ongoing. But we do know that there was agents scouring around their neighborhood That is confirmed. We saw it. We saw a live stream. We played it on this channel of FBI agents knocking on doors and going door to door in pairs of two and going from door to door to try to get as much information or any information from the neighbors as possible, right? Wray said on Tuesday that the attempted assassination of the former president was an attack on our democracy and that he recognized the congressional and public interest in this case. The gunman's father, here he is, the gunman's father told reporters this week that his family was not ready to comment on their son's actions. And that was the clip we just said. We're going to release a statement when our legal counsel advises us to do so. Until then, we have no comment. He told Fox News Digital before beginning to load groceries into his vehicle outside Shop and Save near the family's home. So apparently they shop at Shop and Save. That's where they're going food shopping. Now, when they were in that food cart, when they were pushing that grocery cart, it looked like they were hunkering down for the long run. Like they're only going to go out like once in a while, maybe even for medical needs or groceries. That's it. I don't think they're going out at all. Kind of has that Brian Kohlberger dad look, you know, kind of to him, you know, and, you know, until we learn more, you know, these guys could be totally innocent. I mean, in the court of law, federal government, sometimes when it comes to this stuff, you know, investigated grand jury might take a while to charge somebody, if at all, but you would think if they had probable cause that they did anything wrong, they would be in cuffs right now, because there is a lot of people speculating. Go on the internet. People are talking about the parents. Are they involved? Are they not involved? Are they innocent? Did they know? Are they in trouble for the guns? Are they in trouble for anything that they've known and did not report? You know, there's crimes, misimprison of a felon. There's federal statutes that saying if you know about a crime or know a crime is going to occur and you don't report it, it's a criminal charge. So maybe, maybe not. So, you know, whether we hear from them or not, who is their attorney? Are they going to go in front of any grand juries? That remains to be seen. And then as far as the sister, I just want to share something else is with the sister here. Katie, her name is Katie. That's the sister of the shooter. Apparently, she was seen right after the shooting. She went to that family home and she brought bags, like travel bags or whatnot, suitcases. And people are suspecting that the parents and the sister are hunkering down inside their Bethel Park home. So they're in the Bethel Park home. How long they'll be there, I don't know. Eventually, you're going to have to come out. Eventually, you're going to have to come out and say something possibly to the world. Now, I want to show something different. We're jumping topics here. We're just talking and catching you up to speed. There's a lot of controversy over Trump's shooting, right? There's a lot of people, and there's media publications, including Newsweek, who came out with an interesting article here. And this Newsweek article is right here. And this article says, folks, Trump may not have been shot at all. Now, this has been getting a lot of buzz, and they're going off this report based off something the FBI director said, which I want to play to all of you. This is about possibly Trump not getting hit with a bullet. Do you believe that? Listen to the FBI director.
I think with respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear. So it's conceivable. Although, as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else. But I believe we've accounted for all of the shots and the cartridges. So I think with respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear. So it's conceivable. Although, as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else. But
was he hit or was he not hit? Now, Trump put out a statement about the FBI director of what he said. And Trump put out an interesting, and I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this statement that he put out right here. Trump put out a statement about what Wray just said. And he says, FBI Director Christopher Wray told Congress yesterday that he wasn't sure if I was hit with shrapnel, glass, or a bullet. The FBI never even checked. But he was sure that crooked Joe Biden was physically and cognitively uneventful. Wrong. That's why he knows nothing about the terrorists and other criminals pouring into our country at record levels. His only focus is destroying J6 patriots, raiding Mar-a-Lago, and saving radical left lunatics like the ones now in D.C. burning American flags and spray painting over our great nation monuments with zero retribution. No, it was unfortunately a bullet that hit my ear and hit it hard. There was no glass, there was no shrapnel. The hospital called it a bullet wound to the ear, and that is what it is. No wonder the once storied FBI has lost confidence of America. People are saying the teleprompters. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a couple people that were in that front row. We've interviewed a couple people from that front row on this channel. And there's others that have been posting out the teleprompters after the shooting. And the teleprompters after the shooting looked intact to me. Didn't look like it was the teleprompters. Didn't look like it was the teleprompters. And the witnesses that we spoke to said it was a bullet that hit him. They could see the bullet, that infamous picture of with the bullet behind Trump. I'm thinking it was a bullet. But it got a lot of people buzzing, including Joy Reid. Remember we played that clip of Joy Reid saying, well, there's no evidence whatsoever that a bullet actually hit Trump. And it's a controversy. Because I think it's always going to be a controversy moving forward to maybe undermine Trump and undermine the significance of what happened here by claiming, well, you know, he got shot at, but it wasn't a bullet, but they're making it look like he took a bullet, but he didn't really take a bullet. You see what I'm saying? But the FBI, I don't know if the FBI director should have said that, but maybe the FBI director didn't actually investigate. It is interesting. Now, also, folks, I do want to say that Ronnie Jackson, Trump's doctor, or former doctor, he's a congressman from Texas. He spoke about it. He spoke about he put out a statement today about this bullet. And I want to read you that because I think this is history-wise, I think this will be a controversy. And one side's going to say he wasn't really hit with a bullet, while the other side's going to say, yeah, Trump was hit. Trump was hit with a bullet. He took a bullet. Because, you know, I guess in people's minds, well, you didn't really take a bullet. You got shot at, but it's like someone getting shot at and some sort of piece of something hit you instead. So you didn't really get shot. So Ronnie Jackson says, he put out this statement today. And I'm going to read this statement. He says, concerned citizens of the United States, as the former physician to the president for Donald Trump, I have continued to monitor his health and well-being along his primary care physician since the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania on the evening of July 13th. The would-be assassin fired multiple rounds from a relatively close distance using a high-powered rifle with one bullet striking the former president and now the Republican nominee for president in his right ear. I have reviewed President Trump's medical records from Butler Memorial Hospital where he was initially evaluated and treated for a gunshot wound to the right ear. Having served as an emergency medicine physician for over 20 years in the United States Navy, including as combat physician on the battlefield in Iraq, I have treated many gunshot wounds in my career. Based on my direct observations of the injury, my relevant clinical background, and my significant experience evaluating and treating patients with similar wounds, I completely concur with the initial assessment and treatment provided by doctors and nurses at Butler Memorial Hospital on the day of the shooting. During the congressional hearing 2 days ago, FBI Director Christopher Wray suggested it could be a bullet, shrapnel, or glass. There is absolutely no evidence that it was anything other than a bullet. Congress should correct the record as confirmed by both the hospital and myself. Director Wray is wrong and inappropriate to suggest anything else. As a former White House physician for 14 years who served during 3 presidential administrations and served as the appointed physician for both Barack Obama and President Trump, I fully understand the global significance of this attempt on the life of the former president and the current Republican nominee for president. As such, I want to assure the American people and the rest of the world that President Trump is doing extremely well. He is rapidly recovering from the gunshot wound in his right ear. I will continue to be available to assist President Trump and his medical physician in any way they seem fit, and will provide updates as necessary with the permission of President Trump. Sincerely, Ronnie L. Jackson, former physician to the president. So Jackson saying, based off his experience, evaluating combat wound veterans, physician seeing that, he concurs with the statement that he was shot. But again, it's being put out there that he was not shot. So it's important to get that information out. Maybe you decide. I personally think he was shot. We interviewed witnesses who told us, I mean, they seen the bullets, they could hear the bullets. I don't see how anyone can actually see a bullet, right? You can't really see a bullet, right? We saw that photo with that bullet, that bullet trail. I don't think anyone can really see a bullet, but they heard it, and it's not like anyone said, hey, something hit something that hit Trump. They're saying the guy got hit directly. So this is him. He speaks today a little bit. He talks a little bit.
Says it wasn't a bullet that hit Mr. Trump. Really. Joining us now, Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry and Texas Congressman Dr. Ronnie Jackson, former White House physician. We're going to play quick sound on this, gentlemen. Here it comes.
With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear.
All right, there you have it. Bullet or shrapnel, Ronnie Jackson? I know you examined President Trump. What's Ray talking about, and do you agree or not?
Absolutely not, Larry. This is absolutely ridiculous that he would make a comment like this. This degrades any level of credibility that this man may have had after years of weaponizing the FBI and the DOJ against the president. It was absolutely a bullet. I examined it. It was a track of a bullet. It was scooped out just as it would be in the track of a bullet. It had the telltale other damage that is associated with it. All the surrounding tissue in the ear was swollen and edematous. His ear looked like a wrestler's ear when it was fat and swollen, and that goes along with the trauma from a high velocity bullet as it passes through tissue. That's a hallmark of a gunshot wound, is that the tissue outside around the bullet track is also traumatized and damaged, and that would not happen from a piece of glass or even from a fragment. That was a bullet. Everybody saw it. The whole world witnessed what happened. That's why this man's being butchered right now, because it was on live television.
But Ronnie, I also have read that that bullet ricocheted off of Mr. Trump's ear area and it injured one of the people in the crowd.
Right, that bullet went somewhere. I mean, it passed through the top of his ear. It didn't stop there. So, they need to find out what happened. This is the organization that's tasked with the investigation of the assassination attempt. And it's irresponsible for this man to make these kind of comments as a sitting FBI director, because all he does is add fuel to the fire for the morons and the assassination deniers like Joy Reid and Keith Olbermann and other idiots like that are out there that don't want the public, or they're trying to minimize what happened to the president. He almost died, Larry. That's as close as you can come to get, as close as you can get to dying. So this was a big deal, and for them to try to minimize it just pisses me off, quite frankly.
Scott Perry, bring in on this. Scott, this is why. I argued this to the speaker last night, and I've said this every night this week. I don't want the heads of the FBI in Washington, the heads of the Secret Service in Washington, or the heads of the CIA, or the heads of the Justice Department. I don't want them running this investigation, okay? The Congressional Task Force, the House Task Force may be fine, but I don't want them to in any way rely on the heads of these agencies for all the reasons that Ronnie Jackson just talked about. I don't want it. Let's go to the rank and file, and let's bring in some expert investigators and not rely on these agencies.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think Christopher Wray must be reading the tea leaves 6 months ahead here, and he's auditioning for his next job on CNN. If you're going to make a statement like that, you better have some credible answer that answers the charge. Like Representative Jackson said, we all saw it happen, and it's part of this. It's part of this continued three-ring circus that is the Biden administration, the Democrat Party, and the left in general. And there has to be. We cannot count on. We cannot count on the FBI, the DOJ, the Secret Service to do any investigation here, which is why the Speaker has made a task force, or put together a task force that we just voted on to oversee this thing and look at it, because as Ronnie said, Americans don't trust the premier investigative services in our country anymore because we've just been lied to over and over again and right in front of our faces. 12 days ago, we all saw it, and now they're lying about it already, or they're at least offering explanations that don't make any sense and not offering any explanations that do make any sense. Meanwhile, not really answering a whole lot of questions.
I'm just going to, real fast, just to be fellas, you just got 20 seconds left. Scott, are you satisfied with this task force concept? Are you okay with it?
Well, it has to be an outside look. We cannot rely on the normal agencies. So that's as close as the House of Representatives can come.
Yeah. Ronnie Jackson, what do you think?
I think the task force is a great idea. Just like Scott said, we don't have any confidence in the number one law enforcement agency in this country right now. And if he's going to come make statements like that, he better have some evidence of what he's talking about. There was no fractured glass on the teleprompters or anything else. So if it wasn't a bullet, what was it and where did it come from?
Yes, I got it. Fellas, thank you very much for today. We appreciate it. Scott Perry and Ronnie
You know
Jackson.
what's interesting? That the FBI director said a bunch of stuff about Crooks, and we reviewed one of the things where he said about the 14 guns in his parents' home, right? Should we even believe that? Because pretty much if the FBI is kind of saying that, well, they don't know really if Trump got hit, then what are we supposed to believe at all with what they said? Because Ray was saying a lot of different things yesterday. He was even talking about the ladder. Remember the ladder? Everyone wants to know about the ladder because apparently this guy went to Home Depot in the morning of the shooting and bought a ladder. But then people were like, okay, you brought a ladder. Where's the ladder? What was his intent to do with the ladder? But according to the FBI director yesterday, he didn't use the ladder that he bought. But they found a bloody receipt in his pocket about a ladder. But what would he get a ladder for? Listen to this. This is interesting. Massey talks to him. Massey is the representative from Kentucky. Talks to him about a ladder. I'm gonna play this.
Good to have Mr. Massey back with us today. Some of us had a chance to go to Kentucky over the last few weeks and visit with Thomas and his family and hear all kinds of wonderful stories about Rhonda. Amazing lady, gentle spirit, and we're glad to have Mr. Massey back with us. And the next 5 minutes belong to you, Congressman.
Thank you, Chairman. Director Ray, how many counter snipers were present at the rally that day, and which of the counter snipers took the shot that took out the would-be assassin?
I don't have the number of counter snipers. I know it was the Secret Service counter sniper who took the shot that eliminated the shooter. We've conducted a number of interviews, including of him.
So was it one of the two that we see in the videos on top of the roof, or was it a different location that shot?
I'm afraid I don't have that at my fingertips here.
Okay. You mentioned that the would-be assassin bought a 5-foot ladder. You have credit card evidence of that, but it looks like on the scene there was a larger ladder that he might have used. Do you know which ladder he used to get to the roof, and do you have possession of that 5-foot ladder and the other ladder, and do you know how the taller ladder got to the scene?
So this whole business about the ladder is something we're drilling into more. We do have possession of the 5-foot ladder that he purchased close in time to his attempted assassination. That we've traced the purchase of that ladder from a receipt, a bloodied receipt that he had on him at the time his body was recovered on the roof. We do not yet know for sure how exactly he got up on the roof. We're looking at, various forensic pieces to try to kind of piece that together. So more to come on that.
Do you know where the 5-foot ladder was found or retrieved? Was it near the roof, or was it still in his vehicle?
Neither. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that it was not. I know that it was not on scene, and I know that it was not in his vehicle. But we can circle back to you. And
Okay.
get to that.
Circle back.
Is there any evidence at all that he may have been in contact with somebody else before this occurred that may have had any prior knowledge or may have helped him plan this event?
Well, needless to say, that is a question that we're intensely focused on, because that would obviously
Didn't
be
say no.
incredibly meaningful. So far, underline, so far, We have not found any evidence of any accomplices or co-conspirators, foreign or domestic.
And you're using geolocation data to see if his cell phone was near another cell phone, I presume?
Right, we're doing lots of different kinds of cellular analysis, geolocation stuff, looking at his accounts. He, from everything we've seen, which is consistent with what we've learned in interviews, a lot of people describe him as a loner. That does kind of fit with what we're seeing in his devices. His list of contacts, for example, is very short, compared to what you would normally see from most people. So it doesn't appear to be a whole lot of interaction between him, face-to-face or digital with a lot of people.
Okay, thank you.
That doesn't mean there's not any, and that's why we're drilling into. We're trying to talk to anybody who's had any engagement with him whatsoever, digital, in person, classmates, coworkers,
Right.
etc.
Appreciate that. And now I want to talk about another.
Okay, ladder. So, bloody receipt, they traced it to a ladder, but the ladder wasn't at the scene or in his vehicle. Where'd they get the ladder? Where'd they get the ladder? And why did he even buy a ladder? And another thing is, he didn't say 100% certainty that he acted alone. He said so far, acted alone. But the fact that they're still investigating, which is very, very interesting. Because a lot of times when we do cover these mass shootings, killers, perpetrators, law enforcement goes quick. And they come out quick and they say whether there's anyone involved or not. And they'll basically say this is the only person involved here. But with this particular case, he didn't 100% say there's no one else involved. He just said, so far, no evidence that anyone's involved, meaning there could still be somebody involved here. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I want to know a little bit about these encrypted apps that he used to communicate with people. I want to know his communication as far as Discord. I want to know a little bit about the Steam and the Discord, because he was using Steam and Discord. That's what's being reported. No other reports, anything else about any other type of online sites that the discuss. Oh, by the way, he was on Gab too. Gab. I don't know if you guys know what Gab is. Gab is like an alternative to Facebook or alternative to Twitter. Get on Gab. I've never been on Gab, but the CEO of Gab actually put out a message and said he was on Gab. And the Justice Department actually sent them some sort of subpoena or some sort of records request and said they want to know. And he was apparently on Gab. I guess Gab is like a right-wing type forum where people on the far right use Gab. Get on Gab. I think it's even farther right than most of these platforms. Discord, I always said, was more to the left. 4chan, more to the right. Gab is like 4chan, I guess, in a similar thing. But that's interesting information. Let's keep going. Chip Roy speaks a little bit about the FBI director. I like to hear from Chip Roy, congressman from Texas. He spoke a little bit about the FBI director and his take on the situation. I like to hear from the members of Congress that were, speaking to these people. I liked when we were talking about the congressional people that grilled Cheatle. Ray didn't get the drilling that Cheatle did. Cheatle got absolutely destroyed by everybody. And I'm going to show a pic of Cheatle because I don't know if we'll ever see her again. She's pretty much embarrassed all the way to the next planet, right? Cheatle just got absolutely destroyed by both Republicans and Democrats. Now, when Ray was out there, I didn't really see people go hard on Ray like they did Cheatle, which shocked me because I thought maybe some of the Republicans would use that as an opportunity to tee off on Ray, but they didn't. Jim Jordan didn't do it. I didn't see Jim Jordan. I thought Jim Jordan was going to do it, but he didn't do it. Maybe they kind of respect the chief and the FBI head a little bit. I don't know.
What most stopped you in your tracks?
Yeah, Neil, great to be on. I mean, first of all, I think the thing that is pretty astounding is we have this individual who shows up there 3 times ahead of the event and then flies a drone 200 yards away. And he does that the afternoon of the event. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation can't stop this shooter. Meanwhile, they put a 75-year-old woman in prison for 2 years because she was praying at an abortion clinic. Their priorities are all out of whack. And then the FBI director lied because he said that
there is no DEI going on at the FBI. But meanwhile, you have former agents who have written an entire report saying all of their standards are getting lowered. So either the FBI director lied, which I think he did, or he's accusing these former agents of lying, which he backed away from. And the final point was both Matt Gaetz and I pressed him on the question about when he has spoken to the President of the United States. And he backed away and he tried to sort of say, yeah, he's still fine. There's no cognitive decline. So again, he's lying because the President of the United States literally just stepped down from the ticket because of his cognitive decline.
All right, Donald Trump on his Truth Social site, I'm paraphrasing it because I just don't have it in front of me right now, but he's saying that alone are grounds for Wray to resign. What do you think?
Well, look, I think that the FBI director is pretty embattled at the moment, right? You've got the President of the United States, the former president and current Republican nominee, who had an assassination attempt. The Secret Service has already resigned. You got the FBI director covering up the fact that they've got DEI watering down their standards. You got the FBI director trying to obfuscate the mental competency of the president. You got the FBI director basically acknowledging that they couldn't stop this guy who was a 20-year-old lone shooter who shows up 3 times ahead of the event and has a drone flying overhead. Why didn't they have that place locked down? Why didn't they have their own assets flying over it? What is the FBI actually doing? I mean, meanwhile, we have terrorists coming into our country. And that's what on earth does the FBI actually do besides put a 75-year-old grandmother in prison?
I do have that full comment from Donald Trump on his site. He said, I watched the congressional hearing today as Christopher Wray was asked the question whether or not he noticed the cognitive degeneration in his many conversations with crooked Joe Biden. And despite the fact special counsel Robert Hurt said effectively that Joe Biden is incompetent and with little memory, etc., Wray said that it is not something I observed during my interactions with him, which were uneventful and unremarkable. Goes on to say that essentially he doesn't buy this. Unless that is how you want to illegally lead the raid on Mar-a-Lago, Wray has to resign, and now for lying to Congress. Now, the other issue that has come up, this is from the former president recommending that Wray go, is that others had said the same thing, Congressman, in their meetings with Donald Trump, that they noticed none of this. And I'm just wondering, that seems to bend credulity. Unless these meetings are infrequent, you would know at a short meeting or an intelligence briefing you do with the president, but certainly you would see a pattern or a trend, wouldn't you?
Well, I certainly think that if the average American can be viewing our president and see what is going on with his cognitive abilities, and that's been happening over time, and when you saw what we saw on June 27th in the debate, it is not possible, right? It is literally not possible that all of the people around the president, both his wife, Jill Biden, the White House physician, the Vice President of the United States herself, Kamala Harris, Christopher Wray, all of the people who have to brief the president on these important matters, it is not possible that they are not aware of his cognitive decline, because anybody can see it. So what you have here is a concerning cover-up, a concerning obfuscation, maybe willful blindness here, right? And I think all of these people need to answer for this. That's what the American people saw today in Christopher Wray's testimony, and I think former President Trump is right to be frustrated about it.
All right, we'll follow very closely. Congressman, great catching up with you on this.
I mean, I know a lot of the politicians are going to take pot shots and stuff like that. We're not trying to push a political agenda on JLR Investigates. We're just trying to get an understanding of what happened here. You know, we're trying to get some truth. I want to know more about the shooting. I know a lot of the politicians that speak and then kind of throw shade at political candidates and stuff like that. I just want to know the truth on what happened here. That's kind of what that's what I want to know. I want to know who this Crooks guy is. I want to know everything about him. I do want to share here that one of the victims, last victims, the one that was still in the hospital, David Dutch, 57, he is out of the hospital, apparently. He was released from Allegheny General Hospital. He was shot in the chest and liver. That's what the report I'm reading here. Shot in the chest and liver. So this is good. He was in a coma. This guy was in a coma. So, that's good that he's actually healing on that aspect. And we wish him and the Dutch family very, very well in a speedy recovery. And maybe they'll come out and share a little bit about what happened there. Now, I also want to share a few more things with you guys. Again, we showed the parents spotted, right? This was the kind of the beginning of this. We're going to learn more about them over time. And maybe the parents will come out eventually and speak remains to be seen. Brian Enton's doing a couple of reports up there. He got really a good report about the plot to kill Trump. That's the title of their News Nation reports. But he's been boots on the ground. But I do want to share something, because he talks to the Butler County District Attorney about the officers that were over there by the roof, right, in the building where the shooter was at. And this is interesting, because we always heard about the miscommunication between the officers. Were officers there? Were they not there? What about the local law enforcement's presence at that rally? And Enton sits down with the district attorney for that county.
The Pennsylvania State Police Colonel, he testified yesterday and said that they left.
Right, he's wrong.
He's wrong about that.
He's wrong about that.
Because he said that when they spotted him, that they left to go look for him, and that's why the roof wasn't covered.
No, that's not true. They stayed where they were. They could not see where he was located when he was on the roof. Their vantage point was, they would literally had to have been leaning out the window looking over to where he was located. But they were still where they were supposed to be, and they couldn't find him. He had walked around the building and they had called it in. So they didn't leave their posts. I don't know why he said that, but
I mean, that was a pretty serious thing to say to Congress.
Well, yeah, it was. And I'm not saying he wasn't telling it. I mean, maybe he was told that, and that's what he believes happened. But that's not what happened. They did not leave. They just couldn't see where he was from where they were. The vantage point did not permit them to see where he was shooting from.
Yeah, it seemed like almost immediately the finger pointing started. We were hearing from Secret Service sources that it was the local law enforcement's fault. Local law enforcement was afraid to talk, but, on the defensive. What do you make of that? I mean, is it the local police that dropped the ball, or is it the feds?
I don't think it was not the local police or the local law enforcement that dropped the ball. They had specific duties assigned to them by the Secret Service. They performed those duties. And so I'm not pointing the finger at Secret Service. I'm not pointing the finger at the state police. I'm just saying that somewhere along the way, somebody made a mistake. But I'm telling you that local law enforcement, who was there volunteering their time, they weren't paid. They were there volunteering their time, risking their lives for the former president. And they were where they were supposed to be, where they were told to be.
Which was the building?
Well, they had several locations where they were assigned to be. One of those locations was a building that was out in that area where the shooting occurred. But where those two people were located, and they never left their post. They were there the entire time. They were not, from their vantage point, they were not able to see where the shooter was.
Yeah, it's our understanding that they were on a second floor looking out a window.
Correct.
Why weren't they on the roof?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. That would not. They would have been where they were told to be. So I don't know why they weren't on the roof, but they were supposed to be in that second floor at those windows.
Are you surprised that the Secret Service put local law enforcement in charge of a building so close to the former president, so close with the direct line of sight, essentially?
Well, no, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't say that they were actually in charge of that building. I would just say that that's where they were supposed to be to observe a specific area within the venue to see if there was anything that was going to occur. So, in my opinion, the Secret Service is in charge of all of the location, inside and outside of the venue, to make sure that it's secure.
Do you know, because we've heard a few different things in terms of when there was an officer who was able to climb up on the roof for a second and see the shooter. Can you walk us through what you know about how that happened?
Well, at some point after the two snipers lost visual of the shooter, and then he was on that roof in that time span. I don't know what the time frame exactly is, but I know because they had called in that this guy's suspicious, so these uniformed officers showed up. I think they were uniformed. I shouldn't say these officers showed up looking for him, and I don't know how they knew he was up on the roof, but yes, he did crawl up. He was on another officer's shoulders, and he crawled up and saw the shooter. he turned. I don't know if he aimed at him or not, but when he did that, the officer, in natural reaction, kind of ducked down, and he ended up falling off of the other guy's shoulders. And I don't know if he was injured in that or not. But in my opinion, he's a hero. I mean, he distracted the guy enough. Who knows what he could have pulled off if he, could have been concentrating. Instead, just now he's distracting. He's saying, hey, they know I'm here.
What can you tell us about the communication breakdown? There were several Congress people here yesterday as part of the Homeland Security Committee who said that that there was not a local police officer in the room, the Secret Service Command Center, that had a radio that was able to keep everybody in touch.
So what I'm understanding is the Secret Service had their own radios. Our local guys had their own radios, and the state police had their own radios, and they could not communicate with each other.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to
You know what's interesting about that, and that was some information that I just learned, was he said local police were told by the Secret Service to be at that building, but they were on the second floor out the window. They weren't on the roof. I'm assuming the building had 2 floors and then the roof, right? So you heard him say, and that was the district attorney for that county. I'm sure, whether you believe him or not. But it seems like a massive, well, one, it seems like the Secret Service still delegates job assignments for all local law enforcement, even though local law enforcement is not technically obligated to do what Secret Service says. They're their own entity. But it seems like Secret Service was like to local law enforcement, you be here, you be here, you be here. You be... And interesting that Secret Service, Cheatle was trying to say, well, we couldn't put Secret Service agents up on the roof because it was sloped and too dangerous. But yeah, we'll put some local people up on the second floor out the window. Things don't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. And then them not, it's like them playing the blame game back and forth. But then another thing is the channel of communications, which Cheatle said they didn't even save. Which is shocking the court. I would love to hear the communication channels between these local law enforcement, and why weren't they all on the same channel? Exactly. The math is not mathing with this situation. Enton was doing some good reporting there. If you guys don't know who Enton was, that's Brian Enton, News Nation. He's actually there, boots on the ground. They actually, hey, I want to share this. I want to share this because I want to share this tweet. He was all at the grounds. He was at the grounds, the farm there. And they actually gave him a trespass warning. That's what he tweeted out. I want to show this a minute. Let's see if I can find it real quick. If I can find this tweet. But I actually retweeted Brian Enton. But Enton said that he received a trespass warning from being on there and reporting. Here he goes. Here's the tweet, which was interesting. I was like, what? I said, they are trying to stop the great Brian Enton from reporting the truth about the Trump rally. And this is what he said. Just got final trespass warning from the property where the shooter fired at former President Trump. Won't cross that line again. Thankful to the neighbors for letting us stay on their land that butts up to where the shooting happened. Live special at 10. So, they apparently, all you crime sleuths out there and all you journalists, apparently they don't want anyone on the grounds anymore. So just be careful. Or are they trying to hide, or is the grounds there just tired of curiosity seekers and people coming up on the property? That's interesting. Now, I do want to share one more thing with you. I want to share this take on the shooter. The shooter here, and Enton interviews someone else about the shooter here. This is interesting right here.
And then this building just 400 feet away, there with the white roof, that is the building, the lower part that the gunman climbed up on top of. But notice today where you see the yellow fencing around the air conditioners there. That's new. We are told that the gunman actually used the AC units to climb up onto the building. And the initial reporting that he used a ladder to get up is inaccurate. We're told that he used those air conditioners to actually climb up. So that's new today. I want to try and get into the mind of the shooter now, though. Also figure out what went wrong and how he went undetected. Let's bring in former Secret Service agent Paul Eckloff, who worked for the Secret Service for more than 2 decades. Paul, thank you for joining us. First of all, I just want to ask you, we've learned so little from police about the shooter, about motive. Based on what you know so far, what do you think the motivation could be?
The best way to get an indicator of what this potential assassin's motivations were or his mental state is to look at a history of shooters in America. We obviously can't interrogate a subject that was neutralized by the counter snipers. But if you look back at a history of mass shooters in public spaces, school shooters, people who commit mass violence, 25% had a diagnosed mental illness. But that's interesting because that's a very low number. In this case, it appears he was diagnosed with a major depressive disorder, but you tend to look at changes in behavior. As I examine this, and the Secret Service and the FBI both examine shooters in public spaces. The FBI does very detailed reports, and the FBI has the National Threat Assessment Center, where they have studied these past shootings. And what they find is, just as we can forensically look at the site and find where the errors were, what can be fixed, and how we can intervene and fix those, there are multiple opportunities to intervene in these cases with these mass shooters. We'll need to go back and draw a timeline of his behaviors, and certainly his internet searches are part of that. But there are delusional systems sometimes. There can be psychosis. But the problem is the majority of individuals who act on these have not been diagnosed with mental illness. They certainly exhibit it. 42% of historical mass shooters were bullied, which I think we know in this case. As I look at this, him researching assassins is definitely a sign. Absolutely. Researching past assassins is a sign, but as we know, America's fascinated with assassins.
Yeah, this has been, Paul, one of the hardest stories to report on because we've been hearing so many different things from different agencies. One story from the feds, one story from state police, one story from local law enforcement, even 12 days out. I mean, what's that about? It seems unusual. Usually the stories would start to come together, but they're almost getting farther apart.
This is really troubling to me, having been at these and planned these events. The public communications plan is part of any protective model. When we would travel with the president, we would visit the hospitals, do a walkthrough of any place he might be treated, whether that was surgical bays or recovery areas. But we also scouted out small auditoriums where the press could be gathered and briefed. If you look at mass shootings in the past, if you look in Uvalde, within 24 hours, the public was given who, what, why, when, where, and how. Within 24 hours, they knew the basic motivations of the shooters, they knew the movements, and they knew the story from the police. If you look at the shooting in Parkland, within 24 hours, we knew those same things. In this case, the Secret Service failed to show up for the initial press conference, and since then, to my knowledge, hasn't gathered with local and state law enforcement and offered a press conference. Nature abhors a vacuum. The public is seeking answers, and they deserve them. I would caution them to be patient. But it is a major failure, not only in this assassination attempt, but in getting communication out to the public to start filling these gaps, because where the federal government leaves the holes, people will fill with conspiracies and fear.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com.
Depressive disorder. Did the shooter have a mental illness? Some people in the chat were saying, was he on SSRIs? As you heard, most of the time, in these type of events, we get an understanding within 24 hours what happened. But what's so baffling and so fishy and suspicious about this particular case is we don't get any information. We still don't got no information. When has the FBI gave a press conference, besides Ray speaking, select questions or whatever, Ray speaking to members of Congress, but when has the FBI given a press conference about this shooting where they can answer questions from the public or from the media? Never. They haven't given out anything. When Secret Service given a press conference about the specific act? None. How's that even possible nowadays where we don't even get a press conference from one of the biggest true crime stories in American history in our lifetime? And we don't got no answers. How's that? I mean, you understand why some people are very frustrated at the FBI and the Secret Service? Because we still don't know. And I want to know, and we deserve to know. We deserve to know what we some of these cases we never get answers. Like I always say in these lives, the Vegas shooting with Stephen Paddock, the Mandalay Bay. We still don't got an answer or motive for that. They never gave any information about that. So are they just expecting this just to get swept under the rug, put on the back burner? The next big event overtakes that and we just forget. Is that what they're trying to do? Scary times we're living in, folks. Scary times. While I appreciate you watching this particular segment, we are on it on JLR Investigates. Family spotted, lack of information, a lot of, speculation out there, unknowns. We just don't know right now. But we'll continue to peel at the onion, and I'll continue to put out what people are thinking, what people are saying, what the direction is. You see the Republicans, they're fed up with Ray. There's some calls to abolish the FBI. There's actually calls online that say, just go on Twitter and put abolish FBI. People are actually calling for the FBI to be completely abolished. Secret Service and everything like that. But I want to know the answers. I want to know what happened. I saw this from the get-go, and I want to see the follow-up. I'm a very inquisitive guy. I'm sure you guys are inquisitive people, and you guys just want to know the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. JLR Investigates. We cover true crime 24/7, 365. Let me know what you think. Appreciate all of you. Members, subs. Hit that sub button. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We cover these type of cases. We don't stop. We're on 24-hour grinds. All right, we'll talk soon. Some people are saying some things are breaking, so I got to go see what's up. There's something going on around the world. What's going on? We cover those type of cases on this channel right here. We'll talk soon. Have a good day. Reporting for the JLR Batcave. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye. JLR Investigates. Stay safe.